Today's guest is a former Perth Nightclub door girl who has recently graduated psychology and marketing from ECU. She gives her thoughts on the impact of social media, dating apps, and tells stories of her own past violent relationships. We discuss travel stories and the time she was almost kidnapped while travelling through Europe, and a warning for today's show that it covers topics of domestic violence and other subjects which may not be suitable for all listeners. So please welcome the incredible Chiara Oteri.
Yep. You can change that to bad Italian job then, because my family hated that I worked nights. Hated it.
So you're a former marketing coordinator for the NBA. We'll talk about this.
All right.
I said it's a good Italian job. You said a bad Italian
no,
job.
bad Italian job.
You have to work nights.
No, as in my previous work, I worked nights.
Okay, so tell me about that. Nightclub?
Nightclub. Amber Nightclub.
Amber. Jeez, you would have seen some stuff there. Amber.
Yeah.
Is that still around?
No, it was Lucy's, and now apparently it's changed again to something else.
That's in East Perth, isn't it?
Yep.
I know the one. Gee, I didn't even have to look it up. I know. See, I can still match it with the kids.
Now you're showing your age.
I know. Amber. Jeez. So what was it? So what did you actually do there?
So I was the PR girl. So I stood outside and dealt with everyone, and then I also just helped the manager at
the door lady.
The door lady.
I'm not going to say the B word. That's a very derogatory word towards females. So okay, so that's what you did. What was that? So you would have seen some stuff. Tell me some of the classic one-liners people did trying to jump the queue.
No, I didn't really get many one-liners there. Most people were pretty good about just trying to they always just tried to re-enter to pretend that they'd already been in. If that was their one-liner. They were like, yeah, but I have been in. Here's my stamp. And it's like, no, you haven't.
Really?
A lot of people would be sent to me. A lot of people were scared of me, which is kind of the thing. Like security would a lot of time be like, we'll get the door girl if they couldn't get them out. They were like, fine, we're leaving.
Because you would have been dealing with intoxicated people 99% of the time.
I'm a babysitter. I'm a professional babysitter.
Jeez. So what are some of the things you saw there? Go on. Everyone's got a story. Everyone's got a nightclub story.
Oh, I've got so many. I used to come home every weekend to my boyfriend at the time, and he'd be like, so what happened last night? And it used to just be like the highlight of our breakfast conversation, because he'd be like, I've had marriage proposals.
Really?
There was 3 weekends in a row, actually, where people just, I don't know where, it must have been like this weird phase of the moon that people wanted to steal the beanie off my head. And the first weekend, they pulled it off, and they
You don't touch a door girl. No, everyone knows that. No. Jesus.
Yeah, they pulled it off and they just ran down the street and security chased them. And I was like, what a fucking joke. And then the second week, he pulled it off but he didn't get very far. He also tried randomly around the other way.
Same guy?
Different guy.
Okay.
And then the third weekend, I honestly had enough. It happened to me. He pulled me and pulled my hair with it, and I almost fell back.
Oh,
and
Jesus.
I was like, give me my beanie. And he was like, nah, trying to be smart. And I was like, give me my fucking beanie. He was like, nah. And I ended up grabbing and giving him a punch. And the manager was like, good on you. Security was like, you're fine. I'm like, I'm fine. I'm just like, and then I was like, once you've hit someone, you've actually got adrenaline in you. And so I was just angry with rage.
I'm obviously haven't got the same level of rage and anger and violence as you have. Jeez, it's good to know that. Why not?
Claudia, watch out. No.
And the whole family. With you, so you've recently left the Masters Builders Association, Master Builders MBA.
Yeah.
Just time for a change.
Yeah, it's just also, I don't want to speak too real badly, but incredibly toxic environment. Was my first corporate role, so that's kind of good. It's like you get to know what the real world is like.
Your MBA photo is quite fancy. Have you seen that?
I don't know if it's still going to be up there. There's no one there to take it down.
Look at you there. So sweet. So sweet. So what did you actually do there? What was your role there?
I was actually marketing and events coordinator, but to be honest, they did a hell of a lot more. I did pretty much their training stuff. There was not enough members in any of the teams, so is
it a government funded thing?
Yeah, it's it's a member funded.
Okay, yeah.
I was their graphic designer. Yeah, marketing. For a period of time, I was the comms coordinator. It was about 5 people in one for most of the time I was there. And then at the beginning of the year, they hired someone else to do communications, but I still had like 4 other roles to do.
Really? Just understaffed there?
Understaffed, yeah, not wanting to hire anyone to do it. It's just, I was like, I can't do this. This isn't fair.
Just having a break. What do you want to get into?
I actually want to go back into more of my psych side. I'd like to do research or
video editing.
Yeah, I can still do. I think I'll miss the creative side. So yeah, I'll do that.
Oh, nice. Sorry. So what is it? So you want to go back into your psych? So you studied psych at uni, didn't you?
I did. Yeah, I did a double in psych and marketing.
So what does it feel like being like a clinical psychologist? Is that right?
No, I haven't finished my dissertation. So
Yeah.
I've actually gave me 10 years to finish my dissertation, and then I can pick any sort of supervised training I'd want to go into.
Yeah.
But if I did, I'd probably go into children or human behaviour.
Okay.
I like that rehabilitation side, especially with just like autistic children or ADHD.
Yeah.
I don't think there's enough work on that side.
There is that particularly the ADHD. It's so more prevalent now than it ever used to be. How do you? This just came to me. Social media.
Yep.
I recently had some time off work due to an injury, and I spent a fair bit of time on social media. And after about 2 weeks, I felt absolutely awful. I don't know what it was. It just seemed to be extremely toxic. I do understand the need and the benefits of it, but how do you think we're going to deal with social media? Being a bit older and living life prior to social media, how do you think you kids, say anyone growing up now, when all they know is social media and seeing how awesome people are on social media, how do you think they're going to be dealing with it?
I actually don't know if they will. And you're not taught these skills to be able to deal with. I mean, I was never taught the skills of, self-confidence and self-esteem. And these kids are definitely not going to be taught it. And if they think they're going to be taught it on a TikTok or through a motivational quote on Instagram, I think they're a little bit delusional. And I think that's how they think they're going to get it, which is a bit upsetting. Because, before you'd read a book or you'd read some things, so you'd have, I don't know, maybe quality friends. But now you don't have those connections to make quality friends. So I think it's going to be harder for people to find the best version of themselves amongst being constantly involved in social media and that world, especially when they don't want to get off their phones.
So you think there's going to be because now it seems to be not false friends, but friends that are friends with you because of what you can give to them.
Yeah, I've noticed that a lot of relationships now are more transactional. There's 6 years between me and my brother.
Yeah.
And we're very different in that sense. He's very, what can you do for me or what can I get? And that's how he is.
Are you single?
I am.
Oh, yeah. Nice. Are you on any kind of dating sites?
Here's a fun fact. I've actually never downloaded any one of those apps.
Really? You would be dynamite on Tinder or something. Because that is so common now.
Yeah.
And it's not the stigma that used to be around. And we've got a friend of ours that met and got married. And they met on an old site. It's an old person site called RSVP.
I do know that.
Oh, yeah, back in the day. And they had an agreement never to tell anyone that's how they met, because it was quite embarrassing for them, which it's not now, but it's just the norm now. People say, how did you meet? I met them on Tinder.
And that's what I mean. I've got 2 friends that are engaged now from meeting their partner on Tinder and Bumble, and that's it. And they're like, Bumble. Well, you're going to get on it? And I'm like, I just don't want to meet my partner. I was like, no offense, but I don't want to meet my partner on a dating app.
Yeah, it's always there, isn't it? But it seems like every single person's on it. A lot of people aren't single or on that as well.
Each to their own.
Yeah, I don't know how. Any advice you have, I suppose, for parents, mate, having kids that are going to be that are going to be introduced to social media in the next, say, 5-10 years?
I think there's a positive way you can use social media. There's heaps of groups on Facebook that, kids and that can go to as they get older, or be a part of that, you could meet up and do different things. And I think that's a positive way to meet people. I think you just need to bring it back to, or even if they are, joining gyms or joining different things, workplaces and stuff, there's got to be a way to incorporate social media that's not so detrimental. And I think that's it. So I think, I know a couple of other friends that have got reading groups and just even other fun groups. They do stranger dinners where someone will always bring a different person, and it'll be that person, but then they bring a new person. You can do different dinners and stuff like that. So then you get to meet different people.
Sounds
and
like
it opens up.
party.
Yeah, it does a little bit, but let's make it a bit more fun kind of thing.
That's great. I think there's so many good ideas from what I've seen that someone will find a way to make money from it, and it'll just wreck it. It'll wreck it. That's marketing people. That's marketing people to
us.
They ruin everything. Absolutely everything. So
Sorry for being in your mind at all.
all the time. Jeez, I couldn't sleep last night because I knew you were coming here, going to get inside my head. All right, we're going to dive into your. Speaking of social media, we're diving into your socials. What have I got there? Tell me who this lovely young lass is there.
So this is my grandma. She's actually an incredible woman. So she's deaf.
Yep.
She has been deaf since she was 3. She got
really
measles, chickenpox when in her ears during the war. They moved down to the harbour in Freo and they got attacked.
They need to be a bit longer. That needs to be a bit longer there. Too much cheek. I'm going to go back one. There we go. I did not know that photo was there, by the way.
Yes, you did.
I did. No.
People at my old workplace have seen it as well. They were like, they were showing one of the directors, and he was like, "Yeah," and then she swiped across, and knowing it was there, and he was like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "Wait, swipe back." I was like, "Don't be showing people that."
Tell me about is this your nonna?
This is my nonna.
Nonna, yeah. Tell me about your nonna.
So she loves cooking. She's obsessed with cooking. She'll wake up at 5 a.m. to cook, and then she'll cook till night time. She is your proper like nonna.
Oh, the nonna, really?
Yeah.
It was a different time, isn't it? With because my family background's Italian as well, and it was different. And a woman's role. Firstly, a woman's role. She could do whatever she wants. I'm definitely saying she should or shouldn't do anything. I'm not one to judge, but what I found is the people today don't have the same pride in being a homemaker. Like, say maybe they chose, I'm not saying your nonna did, but if they chose to be a homemaker, they do it so well and they're so proud of it. That seems to be gone nowadays. But some of these Italian ladies, elderly Italian ladies, they're the ones that are so proud of the work they've done. And I can imagine that she just wants nothing more than to take care of her family and feed them.
And that's it. That's exactly her.
And she cooks.
And that's all she does.
She cook a storm.
Yeah, she actually uses a computer and she FaceTimes and does everything.
Really?
And her mum, who's currently 101, also alive and driving. I have her car at the moment, but she's driving. Same again. Loves to cook. Loves to look after her family. But yeah, all very together.
Very family oriented.
Very family oriented.
That's what we're missing a bit nowadays, aren't we?
Yeah, everyone seems to run away from their families.
I know I did.
They don't live here, I'm guessing.
No, they do. But I moved north of the river. I stay south. That little buffer that I've got there, that's all I need. Okay. You said your nonna recently turned. So your nonna is your grandmother.
Yep.
Her mother. What is?
She's my great grandmother. So 2 greats.
2 greats. So it's not like a great nonna. I'm just trying to work out.
Okay. I've always got it mixed up, but I'm pretty sure the way I sort of understand it is she's 2 greats, and then that nonna in the yellow is just. Or maybe she's just one. To be honest, I'm not even going to be able to qualify if I understand this one off. Let's just pretend that they're both nonnas. Yeah. One's incredibly old and one is slightly less old. So
your nonna recently, so your great grandmother recently turned 101.
Yeah,
101.
So that's a thing in our family. So her mum lived to 102 and 9 months, and her mum lived to 102 and 9 months. And so now this will be the 3rd generation. She's 101. She's like, I'm going to die any day now. You're not going to die any day now.
101. What do you reckon's the reason behind that?
Honestly, I think it's because they ate fresh food. Everything was delivered fresh back in the day. Fresh milk, fresh meat, fresh veggies. Everything was cooked outside on there was nothing.
No preservatives. No Hungry Jacks. No McDonald's apps.
Yeah.
Oh, those deals, those daily deals just get me. Hash brown for $1. Done.
Ice cream and chips yet sold.
Okay. I deserve this. And do you reckon it's a stress thing as well? Because you think about it, all right, they don't have the stress, but she's been through 2 world wars. It's a different kind of stress. Like people will be stressed here because they're slumming it in a 2020 Prado and not a 22. Jesus, I'm stressed. But they would have had some real stresses. When did you move to Australia?
When she was 11.
Okay, so she's been here a while.
Yeah.
Gee, she would have seen some stuff.
Yeah, and especially now to live through COVID, she's like, I've never seen this in all my life. And she hasn't, because and I was like, you've been through wars and other sort of plague bad issues, but no, you've never been through something that's crippled the entire world.
And she would have been born during the Great Depression.
Yep.
Is that in the early 20s, 1920s? I think so. There's my history. Yeah, my history teacher from school's like, Jesus, Brad, what are you doing? All right, I think I got some photos here of her 100th birthday.
Yeah.
There we go. So she's 101,
She's
still mobile.
Still mobile.
Look at you there, giving her a big hug. Is that her?
That's it.
Who's that guy there?
That's my brother.
Brother. Tall.
Very tall.
Nice. Oh, that's the whole gang.
Whole family, yeah.
Jeez.
This is Cartier.
Okay, so this is your dog.
This is my dog.
Cartier.
Yeah.
What's that name from?
The brand. I know, we get it all the time. So Mum picked out the name, but
Nice jumper.
yeah.
Is this your dog, is it?
It's supposed to be a family dog, but we're kind of, more attached to each other.
Okay. So it's your dog.
It's my dog.
It's your dog.
He's my little old man.
You do... What is this?
Floating, yeah. So actually,
Tell me about floating.
I
went to Salt Float.
Yeah, love them. I volunteered there during my 4th year of psych.
Yep.
And then just got addicted to it and was there until pretty much COVID started. And then when COVID started, I had to stop because obviously they closed the centre down.
So you, when you said you volunteered there, is that as part of your university?
No, just because I was interested in it. I'd been a couple of times and I was like, I really like this. And they were like, well, you can do a 5-hour shift in exchange for 1 float.
That's not a bad deal.
No, not at all.
That's really good. I thought, because that'd be interesting to see how this works with like the psychologically with people. I can't get my words out. What's in that coffee? It'd be interesting to see because people talk about. I did one at Salt Float Studio, I believe, in South Perth.
Yeah.
And it was great, and I started to hallucinate during it. But it'd be interesting to see how that you could somehow do some, I suppose, research on people, what they actually go through during a float.
Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff coming out now. When they were around, they were the first float centre in Perth at Beyond Rest, and now there's quite a few of them. But yeah, I've started to see that there's heaps of studies and other benefits that have come out of people publishing things, which is really good.
Yeah.
But I honestly just enjoyed talking to people after about their floats or their experiences. And also just the friends I made there were also really good. You're all on the right path and you'll feel like you're doing something good for each other, which is actually really nice.
Okay. When you were doing the floats, did you see anything, or how did you go during them?
Sometimes I've had some really interesting experiences. There was one where I honestly felt like I'd been hit by a train, and it was just like it's overcome of emotions of all these different things. Because sometimes you will go in and be like, I'm going in with this question and this intention, and you want the answer, and sometimes you won't get an answer, and you might get an answer in another float. And it was just, particularly at that time that stuff had been going on with uni and a partner and all this sort of stuff, and I was like, you know what, I want answers for this. And it definitely came like a thunderstorm to me, and it was actually, I got out and I was like, that was the most intense but the most incredible float I think I've had. And then you kind of chase this high sometimes, I've found, because you get back in there and you'd be like, I want to know again. It's like, I'm sure when people go to see a clairvoyant, they're like, can you tell me my future? And people are like, well, we can't really, but people are addicted to knowing what the things they are that they can change or they can't change. And as much as you go in there just wanting to switch off, sometimes that was the most annoying thing. If you couldn't switch off and you're like, you had to relax for an hour, that was it. But yeah, honestly, it was just every experience was so different, but so rewarding, which is, that's what I did love about it.
Because people have mixed floats with the use of psychedelic drugs as well. Yeah. To see. Have you ever tried that? No, because that's illegal. I'm like, will my family listen to this? No. When I first started, I didn't want to. I wanted to just have the pure essence, and for a good year, I was just doing it that way. And then when I was probably ready to be like, there's enough things that I've done and found I would try, that's when we were starting to close. But yeah, I would definitely go in there now and still do it. Yeah. Do you wear anything while you're in there?
No, completely naked.
I couldn't do it.
Why?
I just couldn't do it. I tried and I went, no, I got to just have, I had just like on a pair of boxer shorts. I just couldn't do it.
But the feeling of it, didn't it like bother you?
No, I did get out. I did get out at the end and I gave myself a very, let's just say half-assed dry, and then I put my clothes on. Right?
You didn't even shower.
Oh, yeah, I did. I did. I gave it a quick wash, and then I just chucked my clothes on. I had something to do. I think I was going to work. and then about 20 minutes later, I didn't realise.
It goes.
The salt. And I went, I'm dying. Something is wrong with me. I am covered head to toe in this white stuff. All my clothes are ruined because it is.
Yeah, I found that as well.
How odd is that feeling of actually floating? It doesn't. It's odd, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like it's. I was worried about drowning. I thought I'm going to fall asleep and drown here.
It's a common thing.
Yeah, but you don't.
No.
It's
actually really good as well in your stomach. The last few times as well, I found that if I couldn't switch off on my back, I'd lay on my stomach.
You lay on your stomach,
and it was just good. And I was just like, okay.
How'd you breathe?
Well, sometimes I'd put your face just lays there. Like it's just like if you were tilted to the side. Your face still has the line, and it's just there.
Maybe it's because I'm just heavier. I was a bit deeper in the water.
That doesn't matter.
It doesn't. That's a terrible excuse,
I know,
isn't
like,
it?
what?
Terrible. What are you
well, why didn't you sing
about?
the first time? He's like, I just want to feel better for what I did.
Yeah. Just need excuses. They don't have to make sense. They don't have to be true. I just need to blame someone else. All right,
I'm going to blame the inanimate object.
Oh, yeah. No. Yeah, that's it. Just blame something and then just change the subject so no one can actually, call me out on it. You knew that this was going to happen today, didn't you? Check this out. This is a post from 186 weeks ago.
I know.
I'm so excited. Brad is flying in tonight. Thanks. You know I'm spoken for, though. Listen, you're a lovely girl. Spoken for. Who's Brad?
No, that was actually... was that 2018? Yes.
Yep.
So a couple of days before that, me and my ex-partner had broken up.
Yep.
And so he was supposed to be at Christmas lunch, and obviously he wasn't. And so I was now single at Christmas lunch. So I brought in little Brad, and he was now my date.
Oh, that's Brad there.
That's Brad.
Ah, okay. That makes more sense.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought Brad was someone.
I mean, he is someone. He's sitting right across from me.
Jesus. He's got some problems as well. He's got some real problems. Spend a day with me. All right. Now, something that I just want to see if it's all right to talk about. You've obviously had all these great experiences, but you've obviously had some, say traumatic, but you've had some very hard experiences as well.
Yep.
One is regarding an ex-partner of yours. We won't have to use the name,
no.
But just would you want to tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, so I dated someone that was a lot younger than me, which I wouldn't normally really do.
Younger?
Yeah, so 9 years younger than me at the time. So this is last year, and at the time he was 21. And we worked together in the nightclub scene. And it started out very innocently as friends with benefits. It was all fun things to do. And then I'd said up front, I was like, I don't want a relationship. But then eventually, obviously, things change and they do. So I sort of settled to getting into a relationship. But the person in and of themselves, I don't think they realised that they were capable of their actions. And, threw me around a few times, more than once. And I said after 5 times, I was like, that's it. And then eventually he got to 7 times, and my brother called and he was like, if you don't pack your stuff up in 2 hours, I'm coming to that house to drag you out.
Yeah.
And honestly, that was the best thing he could have done. And at the time it was good because he'd gone for a drive. And so by the time he got back to the house, all my shit was gone.
So you'd moved in with this guy?
I'd moved in with this guy. And I couldn't really get out, which was even worse. So I completely understand now. And I'm grateful for these experiences, and I know that eventually it will make me a good psych for whichever path I take.
Yeah.
Because you've got to be able to relate to people on some levels. I didn't know going into this that these things would happen, but I've always said when I started my psych degree that I would put myself in as many experiences as possible so you relate. Not that you should, by any means, put yourself in a domestic abusive relationship.
Yeah.
But I didn't realise how common it was, and that's what's even more upsetting, is to listen to other females that have been through similar stories. And if you know how common it is now, because you even see it on social media. Especially during COVID, I saw a lot of people things being like, if you need help or can't get out, reply to our story about needing mascara or needing this. And it's just, you know, the fact that we have to have code words for women being stuck in things, that's the most upsetting thing. But, it was hard. He, at one point, he did put a bounty on my head twice, which was a bit fucked up.
He did what?
You know when people, like, pay money to have someone hurt?
Jesus.
That was when, it was like the first time. It was on New Year's Day. And
how long ago was this?
This is New Year's Day last year.
Oh, so one just gone?
Yep.
Okay.
One, not the one for this year, the one going into...
So we're talking about 2020, all this was going on?
Yeah.
Jeez, COVID's not enough. You got this to deal with. How did it start? Like, was it all fine at the beginning? And
yeah, it was all really normal. And then he just got really protective over... one of my exes had messaged me to be like, how you going kind of thing. And he's like, you're messaging other guys. And obviously that seems to flick a switch in people's minds. And I was like, it's literally nothing. That didn't really sit with him, and then he got really angry about it. And ended up like pushing me, and like because I'm light, obviously I just kind of flew across the room. And then, I was constantly like covered in bruises.
What did you think when all this was going on?
At the time, I was like, you know, this isn't right. I know it's not right, and you try to get out, but then you obviously still know there's another side to this person, and there's a compassionate side and a kind side. And I am someone that wants to believe the best in people. And I do believe that people can change as much as people don't. I do genuinely believe people can change. People want to be better. And it'd be, you know, you'd go a couple of weeks and it'd be fine. Or there'd be a couple of days and you wouldn't be. But every time, there was also times where I was like, I actually can't get out. Like, you couldn't leave, or because he was with you 24/7 in the car and this or that. Like, I was like, there is no way for me to literally get out of this. And that was sometimes the scariest thing. So it's like, even if I wanted help, I couldn't. And I was like, so that was probably the more fucked up thing about it.
Do you honestly believe people can change?
I do believe people can change.
I do believe people can change to an extent. Do you believe someone could be violent with a woman and then never do it again?
No, but he's in a relationship now, and I can just hope. I hope for her sake that she isn't put in those positions, or maybe she just knows not to provoke. Maybe what I did was provoking him all the time. Or maybe, I don't know, I think, because he did want to change, and he did try, but...
Do you believe him?
Sometimes, and I think he's too young to realise that the person he is right now isn't a healthy person. So maybe with a bit of age you'd come to know it, but then again, there are also, you know, adults that hit their wives and daughters and children and sons.
It is very common.
It is very common.
That is a sad thing, isn't it? Just my opinion is I believe people can adjust, but I don't think people can change. This is old man talk right now. Oh, man. Only just through experience, I think that people will slow down doing certain things. But and I I'd love to believe people can change, but from all the experience I've had is, I think I'm very anti any kind of violence. Yeah. It's funny because, like, I love the UFC and we're talking about boxing before, where if it's controlled and it's consensual, almost consensual violence, no dramas.
Yeah.
But I'm extremely anti-violent, any kind of violence, like in the street or anything like that. And especially because I do see how common violence against women is in domestic situations. But I don't believe, and I really hope someone does prove me wrong, but I don't believe that people change. I believe if you've got it in you to strike a person, or especially a female, I think you've always got it in you. I'm yet to meet someone that still hasn't got that. Because, I mean, I get pushed at times to a point where I am just on the edge, but never would I raise my hand to hit my wife. Would probably kick my ass as well. A redhead. Jesus, you can throw hands. But I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. And I can't hit my kids. Some days. Oh, Jesus. Some days. God. But, yeah, well, it's good. And how long was it going before you actually said something to someone? Obviously, your brother was aware of it.
Well, no. So he only was aware of it after New Year's Day because... so
it had been going on for a while.
So I think we started seeing each other probably, it was like October of 2020, and then things started to go pear-shaped around, it was like December.
So this is like a whirlwind. So you were, how long?
The whole time we were together was like October to April, March of 2021. Yeah, not long, very short-lived, 6 months.
So a 6 month relationship and you'd moved in and things were going downhill.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, it was definitely like it's just... because he was like, I want you to move in, and I was like, I don't really want to move in. But yeah, it was you know, I felt obliged. I was a completely different person. I wasn't who I... And honestly, I felt the power taken out of me. And I felt everything. The more they belittle you, because I'm, you know, I've always been a strong person, but yeah, it was just everything about this that just made me little. And I don't know how I got so far into it. I don't know whether it started off as me just being bored, that's why I did a Friends with Benefits, or then I just got comfortable. I honestly do reflect back on it, and I'm like, how did I let myself get to that point? But it kind of is what it is in that sense. So I feel like it's more a genetic disposition than anything else. I mean, I don't know if his father ever bet his mum. His mum never said anything like that to me, but these things probably could be definitely.
Just my opinion. Just my opinion. Sounds like you're making excuses for him.
I probably am.
Shame on you. Shame on you, Chop Chop.
Well, at least now I know if he did something, I'd be fine.
I
would hope so.
That is just my opinion.
Yeah.
But I have a number of females that I know who have been in physically and emotionally abusive relationships. First thing they do is defend the partner.
It's interesting. I mean, I don't like to speak ill badly of people, so it doesn't help that it's someone that's actually hurt me.
Yeah. And I've never been in it. I may do exactly the same thing. So that's why I can't judge you saying you should do this, you shouldn't do that. Because
you've never been emotionally hurt?
Oh, God, yeah.
Well, then, and now here we are.
I become so petty. Are you talking about like ex-girlfriends?
Yeah.
Oh,
so would you defend them now?
Would I defend them?
Yeah.
No.
No, all right.
No.
They didn't hurt you enough.
No, but I think I had formed partners that I didn't do the right thing by.
Yeah.
Never physically, God no, but I didn't treat them the way they should be treated. I think I was way too casual in the relationship, and maybe I was trying to work it out myself, and I didn't understand what I was doing. It wasn't many, I'll be honest. I wasn't dynamite with the ladies when I was younger. It wasn't through lack of trying. But it is. I suppose I'm very lucky now. My wife tolerates me.
Yeah, okay.
And she's good. She puts up.
That's not what marriage should be. You shouldn't tolerate.
No, she tolerates me. No, she's really good. I can't believe it. I don't know how she shit the bed on that decision.
I told you it was the tea.
What's your wife like? She makes terrible decisions, obviously. She married you. No, she's good. All right. Jeez. Oh, that was too much. Let's get back to some good stuff. All right. Travelling. Where was this taken?
That was taken in New York on the subway. What is it? The
Subway?
Subway, that's
Subway?
one. Yeah.
Nice. You look right at home there, don't you?
Yeah, I do actually. Loved New York. Probably LA more, but did love New York.
Check out the. Is that Kappa?
Yeah, it's it was a collab for Chola and Kappa.
I can imagine you in the Kappa gear.
Yeah, I'm actually obsessed with fashion. That's probably one of my...
Oh, no. Don't worry. I'll go into that later. Travelling. This is what got me. And because this was written in February, is there's this age group of men and women, age, say, 20 to 23, that finished school, got a bit of money together, and were all set to travel.
Yeah.
And they have had 2-3 years. They've lost those years. They're never gonna get that chance to with my age group, it seemed to be go to the UK on a 2-year work visa and that kind of stuff. But they've missed these 2 years of travelling.
Yeah. And that's what I'm so grateful for is I've pretty much travelled almost every year while I was at uni and made the effort to. And that was what all my savings would go to. Could have bought a house, but no. I'm actually so happy now that I didn't because I had friends that saved all that money and put deposits on houses. And now they'd be like, oh, I travelled, but then, everything happened. Whereas I'm like, no, I've travelled. I've done a lot of Europe, like four or five trips to Europe and 1 trip to America. So I'm happy that I've been able to just push myself and go.
Yeah. Did you go alone?
Once I went alone. The other times I've gone with my cousin and a friend.
Okay.
Or my family from America.
Travelling to me is the most underrated, but not underrated, but it's just, I don't think people truly underestimate. Yeah, they don't understand how good it is for you. And we've been so isolated here, and people think, oh yeah, I've travelled. I've been to Bali twice. I've had bintang every night. I've had bintang for breakfast. I'm worldly, Honestly, I have a jam jar for lunch. Probably Fraser Harvey would after yesterday's
jam jar.
Jam jar. Yeah, in Bali, jam jars. They're like this big. They look like a vase full of. I don't know, something.
Please don't say jam.
No, it's like full of this drink. It's either pink or blue, like all natural, as you can imagine. Something that's probably going to make me go blind. Oh, travel in Europe. You thought you were going to get kidnapped, apparently.
Yeah, this is a good story, actually.
Who would kidnap you?
So I was on a Kentucky tour, so I'm 21 at the time.
She's eating all our food. Don't kidnap her. I can't afford the food to feed her.
Yeah, okay, so imagine 21-year-old me.
One more. There's a report saying, what is she wearing? Well, she could be wearing one of these 30 outfits and she's never worn the same thing twice, so she could be wearing any of this stuff.
Do you know what, though? There's a photo on my Instagram for the day of the kidnapping, almost kidnapping.
Just go to your Instagram.
Okay, well, we arrived in Lucerne. And we were staying at a prison, an old prison.
Yeah. Lucerne, where's that?
In Switzerland. I know, beautiful city. It's actually one of the top 5.
Yep.
We were staying in this thing and we'd rocked up at this old prison and there was these 2 guys that were like the concierge people. And then I just remember being with my best friend, Malishka. She's she's in my photos. And we remember us like settling in. We had food and pasta and some stuff, and then we went up to the room. And I had got a message from the guy that I was seeing beforehand, and it was actually from his girlfriend to say that he'd had a girlfriend the whole time, and that
you can pick him.
Apparently, 21-year-old me on the right track. And apparently that at one point he told me that she was pregnant, and he was like, but she lied, and she had told me. She's like, well, I actually was, and I was like. She's like, so can you tell me all the stuff that happened? And I was like, this is between you guys. I didn't know he lied to you. You need to take it. I was like, you need to take it up with him. I messaged him and I was like, I'm not going to say anything to her, but I was like, you actually need to figure this out. And kind of just like left it at that. I was like, bad taste in my mouth. And then that night we went downstairs and obviously it was dinner time and the 2 concierge boys were just like, oh, like, what are you guys going to do after, to the whole kind of group? And they were all like, oh, we don't know yet. We might go out, we might not. Then we ended up going back up to our room and ended up drinking like a whole bottle of wine. And it's so easy over there.
Sounds like a great start to the night.
Yeah,
what could possibly go wrong?
What could possibly go after finishing a bottle of wine? And this would have been at like 6 o'clock. And because alcohol takes so long to hit me, it wasn't until like 9 o'clock that I started to feel this bottle of wine. I went downstairs and I was like on the internet again, just talking and catching up with people, relaying the whole shit show that had happened earlier that day to friends back home.
This is all on the same day?
This is all on the same day. And one of the boys was like, oh, well, do you want to come out for a drink then? I was like, yeah, sure, why not? Went up to the girls and I was like, does anyone want to come? And they were like, no, and you shouldn't go either by yourself. And I was like, we'll be fine, we've met them. Like, I don't ever do anything reckless as well. And it's the first time I'd ever done anything reckless in my life. And we, like, get into the car. I get into the car with these 2 other boys and stuff, and I'm talking to them. I'm like, like, how long have you worked there? And they're like, oh, we don't actually work there. And I'm like, what? I'm like, what do you mean you guys don't work there? They're like, nah, it's actually our friend's job, and he couldn't work, so he just said we'd fill in, but we don't work there. at this hotel. And I was like, oh my God.
Oh, jeez, this is great.
This is, I was like,
sounding great.
I'm fucked. And so then we was like driving out of the city. And I was like, oh, where are you guys going? They're like, oh, we got to drop one of the boys off. And I was like, okay. And he's like, and then we'll go for a drink. And by then I've already been in the car for like 15 minutes. And I'm like...
No red flags going off?
Yeah, there's plenty of red flags going off. And I'm like laying in the car, my head's starting to spin. And I'm like, obviously my heart's thumping. I was like, everything's going like... every adrenal gland in my body's going, you need to roll out of this car.
Yeah.
We drop off, get to this stop. We drop off this boy. And he's like... if he doesn't please you, you can always come back here. And I was like, oh my God, what the fuck's going to happen to me?
Jesus.
I was like, oh my God. And he's like, do you want to sit in the front? And I was like, no, I'm okay. He's like, and then eventually I was like, actually, no, I'm probably better off than I can, if I do need to do anything, I'll, pull something, whatever. I was like, okay. So I was sitting in the front and my logic is, if I keep talking to this man, he's not going to rape me. So I'm just making every suitable conversation possible. And he's like, do you want to get something to eat? And I was like, that's a great idea. Let's go get something to eat. Yeah. We pull into this like kind of service station version. Obviously, everything over there is really pretty. And so we've got this like beautiful homemade pizza, ironically. We're just like sitting down eating. And then we were just like talking about some stuff. And he was cool. And at first he was like Slav and Croatian, that neck of the woods. So I was already like, this is dangerous.
Yeah.
And then we got back into the car and he was like, well... I was like, can you take me back to the hostel now? And he was like, no, like, you haven't seen any of Lucerne. And I was like, to be honest, it's kind of getting late. He's like, well, let me just show you that you can trust me. And I was like, oh God, anyone that says that.
If anyone says, trust me.
I'm like, that's not how you make a friend.
Hang on, this after you've just rocked up at my house. Yeah, it's in this first room here. Just come in here, lock the door. Why is there glasses of wine out already?
Some reasons on the pick your choice. Then what happened? So then he was like, well, let me show you some stuff. And so then he started to drive me through like Lucerne's industrial area, which was kind of cool. Told me a bit of history. And then he like took me to an area and I was like, my gut has always been pretty good. And I was like, something's going to happen. And he's like, tried to pull up his house. He's like, do you want to come upstairs? And I was like, no. He's like, no, come on, we'll go up. And I was like, no, like, I really don't want to come up. Like, can we go back? And he's like, all right, well, I got one more thing to show you. And I was like, that's when I was like, okay. I'm like, now I'm fucked. And then we started driving. And as we're, like, driving, we're getting further and further away from the city. And we're, like, going up this hill. And the grass is getting higher and higher and higher alongside this car. I'm in this, like, silver BMW. And I'm like, okay, now he's actually going to kill me. Oh, yeah. And he's like, so we get to the top of this hill, and he's like, get out of the car. And I was like, I'm dead home. I was like, oh, my God, like, freaking out. He's like, it's fine. And I was like, nothing about this is fine. Yeah. Get out of the car. And he's like, come on. And he's like, let me show you that I can trust you. You can trust me. And I was like, okay, fine. I get out of this car. And we're actually overlooking the whole of Lucerne, and it is the most incredible view I've ever seen in my entire life.
But you're thinking you're going to get killed at this point?
Yeah. And then he was like, do you know... if you were in any other country, he's like, if you were in my home country, he's like, you wouldn't be alive right now.
Oh, nice.
I was like, thanks for making me feel more comfortable. And he's like, literally, he's like, but he's like, you needed to see this view. I said, I wanted to show you Lucerne, and I did. And so to this day, one of those things when someone's like, don't judge a book by its cover, that experience is my, to the breath, don't judge anything by its cover. But also don't get out of a car with strangers drunk. Kids.
And then he took you back to the hostel?
And then he took me back to the hostel, and he was a complete gentleman about everything.
Really?
Yeah.
I'd be so judgy.
The whole time, though, and especially because your phones don't work in Europe at that time, unless you bought a SIM and did all that.
Oh, way too hard.
Yeah.
We're talking wine at that point. Really? That could have ended very badly for you.
Very badly.
Did you tell Nonna about that one?
No, so my family still don't know about this story. Until now, maybe.
Imagine Nonna calling me saying, what are you doing? I suppose you'd do a background check on me.
Jeez. I had a police connection.
Your family. Jeez, it's all about your family. Is Sarah your sister?
Sarah, she's my cousin. Yeah.
Okay, on MasterChef?
Yeah.
I did notice a bit of that.
So she's the one that's just had a baby that he's 5 months now at the moment.
Okay, how did she go? I only found this out last night. How did she go on MasterChef?
She was top 5. She left as the 5th person.
Is that recently?
No, it was a few years ago. I think it was 2014 or 2015 she did it.
So she can cook. She's got the Oteri.
Yeah, I definitely... No, it's definitely from my mum's side. The cooking's on my mum's side.
Are you sort of like the not the wild one, but are you sort of like the black sheep?
Yeah, that would be the definition.
I did see it because I did have a look through a lot of information, just went through some of your family. They were very lovely people they appear to be. From what I've seen, great photos, great family. And there's this photo of you at your 19th. Look at that. I was actually going to have that on my phone. That's you there.
And do you know what? It's funny. My tongue looks longer because of the light that's at the end of my tongue.
Oh, I thought that was a little tip on the end of your tongue.
No, and so many people do that. And I'm like, no, it's... I do actually have a long tongue, but no, it's not that long.
What did your family think about that get-up that you got on there?
So that was for a burlesque-themed party. And...
Semi-tolerable then?
Yeah, I was actually fine to get away with that. I was really surprised. Normally my mum's always like, don't have your tits out, don't do this, don't do that. But I don't know. I think she liked that one.
It is unusual.
It is.
That's it. I tell you what an advantage is probably digital cameras only came out, 20 years ago? Not even 20 years, probably 15 years ago, like a decent digital. So there's all these people who are, say, 35 plus. We've got all of this stuff from, up till about 21 that there's no record of. Yeah. It's so good. No one can go back and go, geez, look at the haircut on you at, 18. Or there's no embarrassing stuff for any of us because we used to go out and the only time a photo was taken is if someone brought one of those little Instamatic cameras and you got 24 photos and they end up looking like crap anyway. But with you, you sort of just qualify there because that's 19. Jesus, that photo. Shame on you.
Or 18 it might have even been.
I think it was your 19th. I think I actually...
2011?
Yeah, I did. I worked back.
Ah.
So that was your 19th. Anyway, what else have we got in here? I think I've got a haircut.
Oh, my pixie fringe.
That is questionable there. What's going on with that?
Do you know what, though? So my cousin's a hairdresser and she does my hair. And that phase was actually good fun. I liked that one. And everyone was like, you suit it, which is not an easy one to pull off, the little fringe.
It's not. It's only certain people can do it. Doesn't look too bad. Geez, you're on your phone there. That's something unusual,
I know.
Isn't it? Always got that thing glued to your hand in any photos I've seen. What else? I found your MySpace.
Oh, my God. And do you know what? I've been trying to get into that one for so long. I
was looking at some. This is like Mixcloud. I went right into there. Is that you there?
Yep, that's me. So do you know what? That's a funny story. That's a good story. That was a trip I travelled by myself to Europe. I flew over for a friend's wedding, and her wedding was in Lake Como. And so I did the whole travel from here to Rome, and then I did some places, and then I eventually made my way to Lake Como. And then I was like, I need to do something that I haven't done before. And so I went and got up at 5 a.m. and caught the bus down to the jetty to watch the sunrise from this particular spot, and it was actually beautiful down there because everyone says Lake Como is amazing, and it is.
Yeah.
It's not like amazing. I didn't think it was as amazing as I think there's other more beautiful places, but that was just one of those things that I was like, that was something to do, and it was really good.
Nice. That does look like a nice spot. Your phone sitting on the floor, taking that camera, taking that photo. Very nice. What else? So your SoundCloud, I did go through some of your music. It wasn't what I was...
a very long time ago.
I know, it wasn't what I was expecting, actually. Here's some of your music.
Deadweight Crew. So that's actually, one of the boys. That was the girl who had the girlfriend. He was one of the boys in that crew.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't expect you to be sort of like a drum and bass kind of techno girl.
Really?
Yeah. I didn't.
What did you expect me to be?
I don't know. See, I didn't even know you worked at the nightclub, so it's quite surprising. I tried to get a bit of info on you from some of the PCR guys. They gave me nothing. I'm not too sure. I'll be honest. I thought you were a bit more sort of 2020 kind of R&B, kind of Drake, that kind of stuff.
But I do love all music. I don't discriminate. But if someone's like, what's your go-to? It will be drum and bass.
Oh, I don't discriminate at all either with music, but what I'm hearing nowadays is absolutely appalling.
Yeah, I know. I'm like...
But am I getting old? Maybe it's it. Maybe we're just getting old. We see.
I don't want to say that's the reason that taste has gotten bad.
But do you remember your parents used to listen to your music and go, "Oh, who listened to that junk?" And that's what I'm doing now. I'm that person, just yelling at people for no reason. That's your future. Your future's going to be right here. I've asked you about your relationships in the dating scene.
Yeah.
I went through all your photos, all of them. And not once are you wearing the same clothes twice. What the hell does your wardrobe look like?
It is very full, I'm not going to lie. Yeah, so there was a period in my life where I didn't wear the same thing twice. And I actually do. I love clothes and I love fashion. It's probably what most of my algorithm on my feed's made up of. And everyone says, they're like, you should be working in fashion. And that's what I wanted to do. I've always wanted to do. Maybe now in the age where you can do anything, it's possible. But trying to be a fashion, trying to tell your mum 15 years ago, when you're 18, I want to be a fashion designer. Yeah. It's not possible.
No, but now anything's possible.
Now anything's possible.
Maybe you could do that on the side.
Maybe I can do that on the side.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
What would your brand be called? Chop Chop.
Yeah. 2 C's like Chanel.
just copy it.
Yeah.
Chop Chop.
Yeah.
That'd be so good. Dolce and Chop Chop.
That's it.
Oh, that'd be so good. Oh, I did find you on YouTube. I haven't found that happy birthday video.
Oh.
This here, it's had 125 views. I'll be honest, most of those are me.
Yeah, so the last assessment for this unit to graduate was you had to make a passport video and you have to answer all these certain questions.
I know, I went through it. I watched the whole 19 minutes 45.
What? Because it was actually supposed to only go for 10 minutes and you got deducted 10% for every minute over. So he actually failed me for this assignment because I was 9 minutes over. And I was like, well, can you at least let me resubmit it another way? And he was like, no, it's already been submitted. And at the time, I'd also was heavily on, I'd had a surgery a couple of days before and I was on, still had all that stuff in my system and I was on all different painkillers. And so I was like, it's just gone out because obviously I was, tired and slurred and all this sort of stuff. And he was like, nope. He's like, you should have requested an extension beforehand and whatever. And I was like, whatever. All right, fine.
Done.
So, yeah, he eventually passed me in the end. But, yeah, there was a period this time last year.
You know how you said that you were going to do some video editing for me? If this is the quality of video editing...
I actually didn't even for this because I was like, I can't bother, let's just submit this fucking thing.
The thing that does get me is where it happens. There's a costume change.
Do I just take off my jacket or do I actually take a proper costume change?
Oh, it might just be the jacket then.
Yeah, we've just taken off my jacket.
You're going through a pirate phase there or something.
Do you know what? It's actually so hard to find corporate wear to wear during the day that's tasteful.
Really? But you're lucky, I suppose. You're at a size where, Jesus, this is going to be delicate.
Accommodating, easily found. Do you want to go?
I think, is it easy for you to find clothing to fit?
Yeah, tops wise, pants wise, it's always long. Like the pants I'm currently wearing are touching on the floor. I've got to get them brought up. Yeah, so most of the time everything's always too long.
Is that a Bambi shirt you've got on?
Yeah. Bambi and a statue merged together.
Jeez, it wasn't formal to get in here today, obviously. Coming from me in an anarchy shirt. Oh, I probably should
need to get one,
that.
So...
I got a hoodie around here somewhere. I do. So you went to school 10 years?
12.
12?
Yeah, I did, my first degree was a graphic design, a digital design one, because I wanted to actually make computer games.
Oh, nice.
That was the path I wanted to go. And
how long ago was this?
This was 2012.
This was back in the day.
Yeah.
This is before apps or anything.
Yeah.
Did you stay with any of that?
I still do a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I like the coding side, and that's where I'd like to go now. If along this sort of psych, I want to go into app development and that now.
So, that is where things are heading, isn't it? That is something else. All right, sorry, so you spent 12 years
so 2011, 2011 I did graphic design a year and a half, so I have half a year left on that. But, and then I moved, because my cousin, Sarah, actually at the time, she'd just finished advertising and marketing, and she was struggling to find a job and all this sort of stuff. Her mum was like, you're not going to be able to get a job, rah, rah. And
that's what your mum said?
That was what my mum said.
Supportive.
And especially because she'd watched me do one of these projects, and I was sitting on the floor, because it was a first-year unit, and I had turned a particular designer, it was a YSL, a couple of pieces of his collection into actual objects. So I'd converted his ideas into handbags and made 3 of his different suits into handbags. And Mum was sitting there, she's like, what are you doing? Like, this is the biggest waste of your time. And growing up from about 15, 16, I'd been really lucky to go to motivational courses all over, like, Sydney. My parents had sent me to, and there'd been a couple in Perth. And so I was like, I've always loved psych and people and human behaviour. And that was probably my lead-in, thinking maybe one day I could do something like that. And then so I was like, all right, fine. If, not seeing my cousin have any success, not knowing what the path would entail, having another friend who had done computer science and having trouble finding a job, I was like, all right, let's pick something a little bit more stable. Moved into psych. Loved it, even though it was the biggest struggle, failed so many units, repeated. Just didn't give up on that. Got into my dissertation year, and that was probably the hardest thing. Like, that really pushed me. Everyone was like, oh, second year of psych's the hardest. It was definitely third year going into fourth year. That was my...
How many years is it?
It's 4 years.
Okay.
So I started my fourth year. And at the time, I was with a partner who was incredibly supportive, but I just never got a chance to see him, and I was overworking myself, and I lost pretty much 8 kilos on what I was.
Geez, that's a lot for you.
Yeah. I
Lot
just
for
looked
anyone.
it looked like a skeleton. I literally can count on my hands how many times I saw him, and of the times I saw him wasn't very quality, which is, pretty much why we broke up, was because I had changed and we weren't on the same sort of path anymore. Completely understandable. So then I was like, you know what, maybe I don't want to finish my project. Like, maybe I'm not mentally there. I wasn't there. I wasn't mentally there. I wasn't physically there to go on to push myself to get through dissertation. Probably wouldn't have even lived, to be honest, if I'd kept going on that path. So I asked if I could defer, and I asked if I could do psych and fashion as a double, and they were like, no. And I was like, what about psych and marketing? And in this case, I actually did ask if I could do psych and marketing when I first started psych, for the 5 years before that. And they were like, no, it's not a thing. And I was like, what do you mean?
Psych and marketing, they go hand in hand, those two.
But Curtin at the time, in 2012, wouldn't let me do it. Even though, all over the world, that you could do it. And they were like, nah. And then when I got into fourth year, was halfway through my fourth year, and they were like, it became available online. And I was like, are you kidding me?
So just going back to that, marketing is working out the psychology of people and what they want, and almost trying to influence them to go a certain way.
Yeah.
Which is part of psychology. I'm sure psychology is a unit of marketing.
Yeah, so most
Human
of my
behaviour,
marketing degree, the 2 years of it, there was like at least a year's worth of units that I'd already done for psych or was related.
Madness.
I know. And I was like, I think they just probably hadn't figured out a way to merge these two or create the units necessary. Then I just deferred my dissertation and went into the marketing and graduated from marketing last year.
Oh, nice.
So,
I saw the photos there.
I was stoked after this long-ass journey. My family's stoked, and I've said to them, I was like, I still want to finish my dissertation. Eventually I'd like to get my master's, and they were just like, you're not going back to uni.
That's for time off.
Literally, and I've all the jobs I've looked for as well lately have all been at UWA and Curtin and stuff, and they were like, you just can't get enough. And I'm like,
love that uni lifestyle.
I do.
You did mention that you dealt with dyslexia and ADHD. How did that go?
I think that's probably why I had so much trouble. It was hard. I actually only realised I was ADHD because of a project I did in psych. It was a children's psych one, and there was a giant, it's like really, really high comorbidity between dyslexic and having ADHD. And so I was like, this actually makes sense. So I went and got a referral and got myself tested, and he was like, yep. And then, it turns out my brother also got himself tested, and I was like, this makes so much sense. And
how do you get tested for ADHD?
You fill out a questionnaire. I don't know if this is how this should be done. Fill out a questionnaire, and he asked me a whole bunch of questions. I brought him some old reports of me being dyslexic, and then he literally wrote me a script for Ritalin, and he was like, just try, increasing a little bit each day and see what is your amount. And I was like, Jesus.
So
that's why people are probably that's why people are overprescribed, I would say.
And what does Ritalin do? Just help you focus?
Yeah, keeps me a little bit less daydreaming.
Do you take it now?
I haven't had any today. I actually do like myself more on it because I feel like it's a little bit too calming for me some days.
You're a delight today.
I actually love my energy that I get.
Oh, yeah.
So
let's stop that.
Yeah, I think it's good when I'm at work. And I like it I do take it when I'm boxing and stuff, just to keep me a little bit more switched on. But yeah, I haven't. Some days I'm like nope, but yeah, other days I'm like okay, I need this because I'm definitely a scatterbrain. I'm all over the place, and
so much going on though.
Yeah,
so much information you got to try to process.
And people are always like, how'd you get to that point, or how'd you get to this? And I obviously talk, this is going to be funny because we're going to listen to this after. I talk incredibly quickly. And I know I talk incredibly quickly.
Really?
And my mum is always like, just slow down. And I'm like, I can't. And yeah, my 100-year-old grandmother is always like, well, if you can't get a job, you should just be the lady that reads out the traffic report on the radio. That's what she reckons my job should be, because she's like,
those disclaimers at the end of each ad.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. But
She's
you
like,
speak
I never
clearly.
understand anything you're saying. And I'm like, yeah.
You do speak quickly, but you speak clearly. That's the key.
Yeah.
If you were mumbling while you were talking quickly, maybe you should be a rapper. Oh, yeah. DJ Chop Chop.
Yeah. MC Chop Chop.
In the house. In your video for your uni, I did mention, some I did find interesting. You mentioned that people having a clear direction and purpose is one of the biggest problems in society today.
Yeah.
How do you feel, what do you reckon's caused that? Because as soon as you said that, I went, God, I agree with that so much, because now it appears that because of things like the internet, there's so much opportunity, but there's almost too much opportunity.
Yeah. You are overwhelmed with endless possibilities. I think you're also overwhelmed with you're able to switch as much as you like. You don't really. I don't think people will have a chance now to give anything a go long enough to enjoy it, or to realise if they like it, or if they love it, or if that's their reason or their passion or their purpose. I know we were allowed to quit things whenever we wanted, and I think that's kind of made me feel like I don't know what my purpose is. So
when you were growing up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it's a fine line though, isn't it?
It is,
to be
definitely.
supportive but also make someone commit.
Yeah, because you don't want to be like, oh, I resent you for not letting me quit, or I resent you for letting me quit. It is definitely a fine balance. So as a parent, I'm not a parent, but I will empathise with someone that's about to be.
It's a piece of cake. So easy.
Ooh.
No.
I don't know. I think the whole thing is you've just got to have kids that want to communicate and talk. We didn't have that relationship growing up, like a very open relationship. But that's the only thing I would say is if someone was like, "How would you want to do it?" Honestly, just talk and talk and talk and talk, and let them feel comfortable talking. There was a lot of judgment in our family and in extended and immediate about different things, obviously, because they grew up in a time where different professions mean different things. And
Very traditional.
Yeah. Be a doctor, be a lawyer, be this, you're secure. Or no, everything that was creative was foreign. And, you don't want your kids to grow up not,
being happy.
Yeah, or even just economically and financially well enough to support themselves, that kind of thing.
Yeah. No, it makes sense, but it does appear, and it seems now more than ever, that the money is the driving factor.
Yeah.
Behind everyone. Speaking to a psych once, and he was saying to me about money. This is when I was stressed about money, mortgage reasons. And he said, and he made a good point, I'm probably going to word this wrong, so try to follow me on this as well as you can. He just said some of the most common people the people he sees are people in high-paying, respected professions. So you're talking about doctors, lawyers, things like that, which are considered the most ideal jobs, and people that make the most money. They've got fancy cars and all that, but they are so unhappy. Often there's drug abuse and everything involved in it, they just want to be normal. And he said some of the happiest people he's ever met are people with Down syndrome. And he said, because these guys and girls with Down syndrome, they're just happy to be sitting there with someone. They're happy on a swing. You give them a balloon and they're happy. And he said that enjoyment. So his concern was the more educated and smarter someone appears, it seemed to go hand in hand with unhappiness. So if you have more money and a better job, you are actually more unhappy. And it's just trying to find that balance. And that's why the point, I'm going to get to the point here in a roundabout way, is when you said you just, you want to be happy, you want to find something and not follow these traditional jobs. I think that's extremely important. And when it comes time to have kids, it'd be good if you do support your kids. Don't just let them do whatever they want and quit or anything. But I think we're of an age now where the old traditional jobs don't matter to us. My kids, there's no chance they're going to be doctors, those two. One of them still eats crayons. But yeah, I don't even know where I was going with that story, to be honest. But all I'm saying is your awareness of knowing that it's not just about money and it's not just about having a job that's respected is just as important. So I wouldn't feel bad about you changing, or taking extra time to do the extra units. And
yeah. And I also think it's, I don't know, there's not as much pressure now. I've also sort of found, there's still pressure because obviously everything now is a lot more expensive than it was back then.
Yeah.
But the pressure of like the way titles make you feel, that's what I sort of come to learn by the end of it. At first I used to love to say, I was like, I'm studying psych. But now I'm like, it's just a title. It doesn't define me any more than I need it to define me. These titles are always going to have stigmas attached to them, and that's great. But you just don't want them to be empowering because, there are people that are in professions that are so much more empowering than a doctor and a lawyer. So, and that's what I've had to definitely come to.
And if you take money out of it and you just do what you enjoy doing.
Yeah.
I love doing this.
Yeah, and psychs don't actually make a lot of money as much as people believe it. And I knew that. People were like, you're not doing this for money, right? And I was like, I know.
You're doing it for love.
Literally.
One thing I do ask is, right now, are you happy?
I am, actually.
I'm not talking about just sitting here drinking delightful tea, talking to me, but would you consider yourself happy?
Yeah. I'm freer than I think I've ever been. And as someone that used to be very, lived by control and needed things in a particular way, needed to follow a certain path.
You did mention that. You said that you like structure.
Yeah.
And clear guidelines. I think those are your exact words from your 9-10 minute video. That's
it. Oh. Sometimes I have to say things in that. But no, I do actually like, there are some things I'm still very rigid about. There is obviously a part of OCD in there. But no, I definitely it's actually nice. And I think that's I've come to learn from actually boxing is because there's no which way to do it. There is no right way and there's no wrong way. And that's what you've kind of got to learn. And once you slow everything down, everything's completely different. And that's what, I think there's been other aspects that participating in PCR has touched on for me and transferred across. And it's actually nice not having any structure and being free to that sense. But I would definitely say I'm happy now.
You seem to, from what I've heard, it seems like you're a lot happier now than you were 6 months ago, and you seem to be on the right path. So in 12 months, so another 6 months from now, I think you're going to be in a better place than you're in now, which is good.
As long as
you're constantly moving forward. So where do you see yourself in 12 months' time? Still wearing that belt?
Yeah, still wearing that belt.
I've had 200 changes of clothes.
Let's hope my wardrobe isn't expanding as that much. No, I've actually been really good. I've bought bare to minimum this year. Although I've actually only
bought... That's a lie.
No, I've only bought... I've had a couple of very formal events, so I've bought a gown for that. But no, I've been really good.
I did actually find one of you. This is back in 2016. Look at you there.
The first dinner en blanc.
Does that still happen?
Yeah, they do. I still do it, actually.
That's you there.
I know.
You look so different there. So you got to dress in all white there.
Yeah. Yeah, to pack your... We actually built our own... you bring a whole table and everything, but we wanted to do a centrepiece because we wanted to win this competition. So we actually went to Kings Park at night and climbed a tree and stole a couple of branches and then brought them home and then painted them white. I also spilled all white paint through the back of my four-wheel drive at the time.
The RAV4?
No, it was an X-Trail.
Oh, jeez. Nice. Good resale value.
Well, I was lucky that one got written off. Otherwise, I would not have been able to sell it.
If I was a caterer for one of these, I would serve spaghetti bolognese and I would absolutely love it. A real thin sauce and just go, I'm just going to watch this happen. Oh, it'd be so good. All right. So what else? That's about it.
Yeah, oh my God.
We've gone through it. We've been going for 2 hours and 15 minutes.
What, just the second half or including the first half?
Including the first half. Well, that's about it. Chiara Oteri.
Thank you.
Jeez, I pronounced that right, didn't I? That was very interesting. Geez, some stories there I did not expect, especially that kidnapping one. Nice to see. Safety, kids. Safety first. Chop, school of safety. Thank you very much for coming in. That was delightful.
Thank you for
And
having
I
me.
understand you've got a big event coming up in about 6 weeks. And if any time down the track you feel like spending another 2 hours and 15 minutes, you feel free to come on in here and we'd love to have you back.
Love, yes.
So thanks for coming in, mate. Wish you all the best for the upcoming boxing match that you're having.
Yep.
And I look forward to seeing you on the night.
Likewise.
Thank you.
Thank you.